Hi, welcome to Analytics for All. This is lesson 11 in our Python for Data Science course. In this lesson, we're going to start going into functions. So we're starting to kind of get into a little higher level programming. We've covered a lot of the basics. Now we're starting to get into some more interesting stuff. Now, as with all my lessons, I have a full write-up, analyticsforall.org, on my website, Python functions. And again, my first lesson, I show you how to download and install the Anaconda distribution, which I recommend you use. But if not, if you're stuck on a phone or a work computer, if you look for the blue arrows, it'll bring you to a Python testing shell, which will allow you to do some of this Python right on your laptop, computer, right on your phone, right on your tablet. But I really do recommend downloading Anaconda, and let's go over to the Jupyter notebook and get started here. All right, so what is a function? Well, a function is like a sub-program within your program. So you can write a little tiny function that does something for you. It can be something as simple as count, add something together. But it's repeated, so you can just call that function whenever you want instead of having to rewrite this code every time. So let's look at this. So in order to the syntax to create a function, we start with the letters def, D-E-F. Give it a name. So this talkback, this is like a variable. It could be X. You could make this X. This right here in the parentheses says how many arguments I want to send to this function. In this case, I want to send one. And again, I could name this whatever I want. This could be def x. I mean, it would work just as well if I just did this. If I just said, do this, I'll show you it'll do the same thing. If I go def x equals y, print y. So just so you can see, we'll do the same. We'll do them both. But that's it. We've created it. So we've got to define, say it's a function, give it a value, say what any kind of variables we want to send to it. The colon, notice we have the indent. So as long as we're indented, that is all part of this function. So we're going to create both these functions. They've been created. There's no output. We just built a function. What we want to do now is let's go ahead and send it a value. So we've got the first one's called talkback, and I'm going to send it a string. Okay. And just to show you that it'll work either way, I'm going to do it again here. I'm going to go x equals print this. You see it does the same thing. All right, so that's very basic. So keep in mind the syntax, definition, variable, give the name of it, any argument you want to send, and then what it's supposed to do. All right. If you want to, this is not necessary. I do recommend it. What this does, inside my function here, I'm going to add this line. And notice I got 3 parentheses, and I'm just saying this prints the string you submit. Now what this is good for is I can run this code called help talkback. So I say, so basically I'm asking what it is. Help on the function module, and it says talkback string. It said this prints the string you submit. So that's what it is. It's like giving a reference, but when you got a big program and you're seeing somebody is calling a function, you're not sure what it does, this will tell you that you can just type in help, and it'll give you an idea what's going on. All right, so let's go more interesting now. Let's do more variables. We're going to make a new definition, a new one, and we're going to define it as summed x, y, and z, colon, and again, right here, returns the sum of the 3 numbers. And in here we've got s, which is just a variable I made up, x, y, and plus z, and I have this phrase called return s, okay? Let's go ahead and create this, and then we're going to call it. We're going to call it summed and 12. Now hold on, I'm going to add some stuff down here so I can move my thing up for you. Okay, now watch this. I got z. I can assign the output of this function, I'll get rid of this at first, to a variable. So same thing, I got summed 246, and I got print z. 12, same thing. I can treat this function like a number. I can divide it by 4. All right? And that's because I used the return value. I'm returning, so when I call this function, it's sending back a value. As opposed to if I were to do it with the print value here, print s, and I run this, and okay, so I just changed it. So now let's go back up here and run this again. It comes back as 12. But now when I try this, it's going to fail It fails because print s doesn't return a value. Print s just prints the value. So there's no number being returned. It comes up as a printed thing because up here, so it prints out for me. But I can't use it as a number as I would here. So that's what the main thing return does. Return sends back a value of some sort that can be used by the program. It's not just represented through a print statement. Okay, so I'm going to just fix this so we can get rid of that error. Go back to return. I'll run this. Then I'll run this again, get rid of the error, and we're good. All right, so that's what I wanted to show you with the print versus summed. Okay, now the next thing I want to go over is two things. We're going to go over what is named values, and we're going to go over default values. So I want you to notice here, up in my arguments, I name and price. That doesn't mean it's a variable. It could be anything you want. I just named it so it's easy to represent and understand. But notice price. I gave it a value. I gave it equals 50. Okay. And when it come out, we're going to print item. And if you guys remember this, if you don't understand this, I've got a lesson on this. This is just called printing with variables. It's in my earlier lessons. I'm going to print the item. So let's just run this. And if you remember, S is for string, D is for a number value. Now watch this. I'm going to send print hat. Now let me show you some real quick. Let me go here real fast and show what happens. I got this one up here, summed. It got 3 values it needs. If I only send 2 values, let's see what's going to happen. It's going to fail because it's expecting 3 values. So what do you think is going to happen with this one? If I just send it 1 value, hat. It doesn't fail. It says item hat price 50 because I gave this value a default value. So basically saying if I don't get a value, if somebody doesn't send me something for price, then I want you to make that default of 50. And then we're going to see, but we don't have to stay with the 50. As you can see here, I send scarf and I send 25. And it does go in order. Just like up here, everything goes in order. So it's saying the first value goes to item, the second value goes to price. If I tried to switch this around here, we're going to get an error because my printout, because it wants this D wants a number, not a string. So that's a problem. So let's go and fix that. So it goes by default, it goes in order. And again, by default, if you give it a default value, it'll just take. If not, it takes whatever value you send it. So you notice it does come back 25. Here I can use the named values. Watch this. From sales price, I can say price equals 10, items equals gloves. Notice it's backwards, but this will work because I've told it what each of my values I'm sending, what the arguments are supposed to be. Okay? So this is functions. Definitely something we're using later on. It so makes life easier with programming. I know this seems very simple, like why would you waste your time writing for something so simple? But think of it as a program inside a program. I write entire functions that'll go out and call a database and bring back any kind of query I send it. So instead of having to instantiate the database each time, I just put it in a function. That way all I can do is write a word and type in the query I want and I send it and it gives me back my values. So this is functions. Again, this is analytics for all. I'll send a link to my site. Go ahead, check it out. If you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe. Give me a comment below. Let me know what else you want me to work on. Thanks a lot. The next lesson, we're going to be looking at enumeration and sorting. So, all right. Look forward to seeing you then.